I'd like to call a meeting for July of the Sacramento Environmental Commission to order. Jill, can we have roll call, please?
Mark Berry. Richard Hunn.
Here.
Diane Kinderman.
Here.
Thomas Malson.
Here.
Laura Nickerson. Eric Rivero Montez.
Here.
Josh Rosa.
Here.
Mark White.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to do a quick introduction of the commissioners. Maybe you can tell us who you're representing and what your background and interests are, starting with you, Tom, at the end.
Tom Malson. I represent Folsom, Ileton, and Galt.
Diane Kinderman. I am a representative of the City of Sacramento. I am an environmental, land use, and real estate attorney here in Sacramento.
Eric Rivero Montez. I represent the City of Elk Grove. I work for the Sacramento Municipal Utility District in their Environmental Services Group.
Hi, I'm Richard Hunn, appointed by the County of Sacramento. I'm a consulting environmental planner.
Hi, I'm Marie Wooden. I'm the director for Sacramento County Environmental Management Department, and I am staff to the commission.
Mark White, appointed by the county. We had a small consulting firm that worked for cities, counties, and garbage companies.
Josh Rosa, appointed by the City of Sacramento, background in land use, environmental, and climate policy.
Okay, thank you, everybody. This is an opportunity now for public to address the commission. If anybody would like to approach the commission and make a comment, please feel free to do so at this time. Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is an update on the I Street Bridge Replacement Project. And here with us is Jason McCoy with the City of West Sacramento Public Works Department. Jason.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, I believe this is the second meeting that, or second presentation we've had with you. I think it's been about a couple of years now since we were here last, and it's good to see a couple of familiar faces here. We are at some significant milestones for the project, which is the reason. Okay, there we go. Which is the reason it was requested of us to provide an update for you. So I have a PowerPoint presentation. I was to be joined by Mark Thomas and Associates, who is our lead consultant, engineering consultants on the team. On that team are ICF International, the environmental consultants. They were unable to make it today, as was Jesse Gothen, who is the project manager on the City of Sacramento side. This is a City of Sacramento project that is co-led by the City of West Sacramento as a responsible agency. So I'll get to it in the PowerPoint presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer afterwards. So this is an image of the existing I Street Bridge Replacement Project. It was started construction in 1911 and was opened in 1912. There's been a little bit of confusion about that. It took a long time to build this bridge. It is substandard by today's standards for travel, with roughly 9-foot travel lanes and substandard sidewalks. But it's not the first bridge that was in that location. There were actually 2 bridges there before the one that was built in 1911, including a wood wagon bridge, and then later on a double-decker wagon bridge and railroad bridge. So this will be the 3rd bridge that would be built connecting Sacramento and West Sacramento in the vicinity. However, we do not plan to replace the existing historic structure, and I will show you that information following this presentation. It's a separate project called the I Street Bridge Deck Conversion for Active Transportation Project, and I swear we'll have a better name for it in the future. So I'm going to back up a little bit, all the way back to 2011, when we had the Sacramento River Crossing study that actually looked at a number of locations, 8 locations across the river in the urban core of Sacramento and West Sacramento. Most of these locations are actually planned to move forward with a bridge in one shape or another. The 2 that are moving forward right now at this time in the project approval and environmental document phases are in the North Market area, and that is the I Street Bridge Replacement Project, which will be constructed just north of the existing historic I Street Bridge. The other bridge is in the South Market area, and that is the proposed Broadway Bridge that right now is currently in the middle of having the environmental data collection activities through the PAED phase. Other bridges that are proposed to cross include what's shown as number 5 on the slide here, which is the future R Street Pedestrian Bridge. That is a conceptual bridge that is anticipated to be led by the city of Sacramento in the future. Also in the area of number 7, between Miller Park and Stone Lock, is a proposed bridge which is currently identified in the planning efforts for the West Broadway specific plan. That, I believe, is still moving forward, and the environmental document phase, I think, is going to be kicking off relatively soon for that project led by Sacramento. All of these bridges are supposed to be following what Sacramento had developed and West Sacramento agreed to, and that's the neighborhood-friendly bridge policy. And that's that these bridge crossings are not going to be what you see with Pioneer Bridge in US 50, which is a large fixed bridge. The reason for that is because we were looking for primarily neighborhood connectivity. So these bridges were not supposed to be connecting residential areas. They were supposed to be connecting commercial corridors primarily. They're also supposed to be low-level bridges, which requires that these be movable bridges. This is navigable waters that is regulated by the U.S. Coast Guard. So because of that, the opening span has to be equivalent to what you see with US 50. So when Tower Bridge goes up, you'll see that distance equivalent to Pioneer Bridge. So there needs to be able to have enough space to get underneath that barges and other larger vessels are able to traverse underneath the bridge. This is the location of the project. This is off the geometric approval drawings. Interstate 5 is shown going north-south on the east side of the river. On the west side of the river is the Washington neighborhood. That's the oldest neighborhood in West Sacramento. It connects C Street in West Sacramento to Rail Yards Boulevard, which is already constructed. This was actually identified in the environmental process very early on, and we have been following that throughout the progress of the environmental document. So why a movable bridge? I did identify that this is navigable waters. We have a number of things that we were looking at when we were identifying the location of the bridge, as well as the width of the bridge itself. That includes the confluence of the American River with the Sacramento River, which actually has some reverse currents and some issues when it comes to navigating the waterway. Because of that, it required a wider bridge span, wider than the Tower Bridge itself. Barges have to be able to navigate through there, so we worked with the U.S. Coast Guard to drop buoys, brought out a barge, and actually had them go through several times to identify what the total span of the bridge would be. We also have the water intake tower that's already existing there, as well as the bend in the river and the existing historic I Street Bridge. So all of these things had to be taken into consideration when siting the bridge, the width of the bridge, and the characteristics of the bridge. This is an example of one of the barges, and the reason why movable bridges or just having that bridge clearance is so important. The primary way that our levee system gets repaired and that we can respond to emergencies in a quick manner is that this is a picture showing one of our levees in the Delta actually having an issue, and they were able to come out and respond to it quickly via water. We don't have a lot of roads that are accessible to bring a lot of materials in otherwise, especially in the West Sacramento area, and especially in Sacramento, given all the historic structures and a lot of the access issues that are on the waterfront. So I mentioned the bridge design. It's a 278-foot clear width. That is a very wide span, wider than the existing I Street Bridge, which does provide opportunities for us to have better clearance underneath for accessibility by the barges. I also mentioned the narrowness of the existing historic structure. So I'm showing a bridge cross-section of the existing structure as well as the proposed. So we're looking at relatively double the width, which allows us to have wider travel lanes, allows us to have transit accessibility on the bridge, which is not currently able to be accommodated on the existing historic bridge. We can also have buffered bicycle lanes. This cross-section also enables us in the future to take a look at the lane configuration if absolutely necessary. Since our traffic models only go out roughly 30 to 50 years, these bridges last 100 plus years. We don't know what the traffic conditions are going to be like in, say, 75 years. So one of the things that FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, asks us to do is to build in resiliency to our transit system, or transportation system, and our infrastructure, which means this could go from a 2-lane configuration to a 4-lane configuration if needed. In order to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists, if that were to happen, we have 12-foot wide pathways on the outside of the deck that's shown there. So bicycles and pedestrians can access both in-road and outside of the bridge trusses. This actually is a great opportunity for us to connect the multi-use pathways that exist both in Sacramento and in West Sacramento and provide unfettered access between the two cities across the river, 2 cities, 2 counties. You may recall, some of you may recall, that the Tower Bridge actually had to be widened to its current configuration of 10-foot walkways because it was, I believe, 6 feet before or 5 feet, and it did not accommodate pedestrian travel the way it should. So we wanted to avoid that same situation where we had to come back and try to widen it out at a substantially higher cost. One of the things that should be noted is that an international design competition was held for this project. Originally, the project team consisted of Mark Thomas, as well as the Don McDonald architect, who was the bridge architect for the Bay Bridge, as well as several other bridges. However, it was requested by members of the public that a broader, more international design competition be held. So that's exactly what happened. We've kind of paused the project, and over the next past 6 months and another 6 months from now, we continue to take a look at different architectural types. We did have the competition and selected T.Y. Lin International as the architects who are now on the project team. So a lot has happened since we last came and provided a presentation for the Environmental Commission. We do have an improved certified EIR. That was actually certified by the City of Sacramento on June 25th, 2019. We actually did receive our FONSI prior to going to the meeting, because both cities have the EIR scheduled for approvals on our agenda. So Caltrans went ahead and signed the documents necessary to move us forward. That's a very good sign, because it shows that there's a lot of political will to move this project forward. West Sacramento is going to be taking the environmental document and our NOD, Notice of Determination, on the 7th. So that's going to be coming up, and that will finalize the entire environmental process with the exception of permitting, which is going to continue all the way through 2020. So as I said, we do have a draft EIR for this. We did have a 45-day review period from September 28, 2017 through November 12, 2017. We did receive a number of different comments on the environmental document. All of those comments were reviewed and responded to and published in our final EIR. That did go to the City Council in Sacramento with no public comment on the final EIR. We have preliminary plans to 35% design level that have already been developed for the project. And at this point, once we finalize the NOD with West Sacramento, we're going to kick off the next phase of the project, which is the final design. In order to do that, we need to know what the architecture is going to look like for this bridge. So we continue to work with members of the public, cities on both sides of the river, our technical advisory group, and we're narrowing down the different design concepts that could potentially move forward for this bridge. In case you wanted to review any of the environmental approvals, they're all listed on the City of Sacramento website. And I've provided these here, which are also printed out on the handouts. For the total project schedule, we are wrapping up the PAED phase on August 8th, I believe. We'll have that completed. That's the day after our city council. Final design will be kicked off after that, although we do have it shown as 2018 and 2020 because we do continue to work on the engineering. Construction is set to kick off in 2021 and should last about 2.5 years. We plan on completing it by the end of 2023. We have had a number of community outreach meetings for this project, ranging from 2014 when we kicked off this project in earnest all the way through just the last second meeting for the aesthetic design was on the 10th over on the waterfront in West Sacramento. Very well attended. We narrowed down our concepts from the aesthetic design meeting on March 28th, which presented 9 different architectural design concepts for the bridge, down to 4 that were presented on July 10th. At this point, we are asking folks to take a look at the design concepts. They can send in comments to either city and just basically what are some of the aesthetic design features that you like about the project. Those who attended the public meeting were given a packet. That packet had a bunch of papers and places where people could put down their comments and then turn them back into either city. So how will the bridge look? This is the question that everybody wants to know. So in this, I mentioned that we had an architectural design competition to take a look at the architectural vision. There were a total of 9 concepts that were brought forward in just the architect selection process by 3 different architects that were narrowed down, and ultimately TY Lin International was selected. At the same time, we also have technical requirements for the bridge. Must be a vertical lift bridge because of the large span. Various approaches have to be connecting both cities between C Street in West Sacramento and the rail yards over in Sacramento. So we're trying to blend both the engineering requirements with the architectural design desires that the community has. So we had so far the 2 meetings, which I mentioned, the 3rd community workshop, which we're looking at kicking off at the end of September, beginning of October. We'll bring it down to hopefully just 2 concepts that the public can take a look at and either choose from, or we come up with new concepts based on the comments. We're leaving this relatively fluid. We're not asking people pick this one or this one. We're just asking what do you like about each one of these so we can find a design that meets the needs of everybody. Difficult to do, but we're trying. The cost of the project is a constraint. These have since been narrowed down, and I'll show you with the 4 design concepts that have been narrowed down from the 9. These were the initial 9, and the cost ranges from $100 million to $350 million. As I said, those have since been updated. These were the initial 9 concepts. Just going to move on. From those 9 concepts in our community meeting that we had, we received a broad range of feedback from folks. We asked them things like, would you prefer the design style be simple and streamlined or more spirited and elaborate? It went all over the board, really. But we did find a lot of folks really wanted to see a little bit more of a simplified design, but with some flourishes. That's also represented in the verbal comments and written comments that we received. So we've been following that feedback. We also asked how people were going to use the bridge, and overwhelmingly, folks wanted to go toward the goals of opening up the waterfront, more recreational activity, and to have more walking and biking along the river. We also asked in the first meeting, which by the way, we had both an in-house presentation and workshop, and we also did a virtual online workshop. So that was extended for over a week, I believe almost 2 weeks, that folks could get online and actually submit feedback directly, and all of that was recorded. There were a number of design concepts. Of the 9 that were shown there, people overwhelmingly preferred the garden, which we went ahead and carried forward, the spring that was carried forward, the solar arch, and then there was kind of an even mix of the bridge concepts in the lower price range value. People just had a lot of comments, though, about just about all of them. But the through seemed to get a lot of positive feedback, so we carried that one as our fourth concept moving forward. Here's the 4 concepts. This is the garden concept. It was for all of these concepts were further refined based on public feedback and then brought forward. The garden concept is supposed to represent the waterfront nature, the more vegetation, more of the sustainable features by bringing plant life in to connect the 2 cities. There's a lot of interesting, the way that the architect did the pathways, they're more meandering, so it gives more of a garden-like appearance, hence the name. The concept was refined to about $180 million estimated price range. These are all subject to changing with the architectural changing as more comments are received. The through concept is on the lower end of the spectrum as far as cost. The through had more of the concept that a lot of people said they wanted respect to the existing bridges, more of the historic nature reflected in the new bridge, while at the same time they wanted to have a modern appearance. And a lot of people brought up the idea of Art Deco style, but also bringing in natural elements. So the architect pulled a lot of these comments together to create this concept. All of these bridges follow generally the same width of the bridge span is required, the width of it, and the approaches really aren't dealt with until later on once we get a little bit more finalized in the concepts. The solar arch concept is the most lofty, excuse the pun, of all of them as far as both the price and of the architectural design elements for it. The architect brought up the idea that this is an arch that connects 2 cities, 2 counties, unbroken. So while the bridge is lifted, you still have the arch that's connecting both sides of the river. This also brings in a lot of the sustainability elements that folks said they really wanted to see with the bridge. The solar panels that are on this bridge provide enough power to power 40 households, which is enough power that the bridge could be lit at night. It can power itself while at the same time giving back to the grid, because obviously it's not going to be lifted all the time, so it provides energy in return. It's a much more streamlined, simple pedestrian experience. Same with the automotive experience, where most of the drama goes into the arch structure itself. Finally, the spring concept was developed actually based on a lot of comments. It wasn't one of the initial ones, but it's slowly kind of been put together based on the comments and feedback that we received. It incorporates a lot of the natural design elements while at the same time has a more inspirational and kind of lofty design, definitely more modern. The height of the towers, I believe, are going to be slightly modified based on some of the comments that were received that they wanted to see them a little bit lower. However, some people wanted to see them higher. So we are working on refining the concepts down to what is mechanically required with this. This cost is also in the mid-range at $180 million estimated. With regard to the funding, we have 2 applications that we're planning on submitting. I think one that was submitted today for the BUILD program, which is formerly TIGER. Some of you may be familiar with that. It's a federal program for transportation infrastructure. We are seeking a total of $18.45 million through that program, and we have our fingers crossed. We believe we have a very good application on that. We're also going to be seeking another $17.8 million in LPP funds. Hopefully, we can use some other funding sources as well, which are not identified in here, including toll credits. We also have local match funds between each city at $5.36 million set aside, and we were recently awarded $7 million through SACOG's regional program. We're also hoping that some additional funding that we had asked for will also be provided to us through SACOG through the regional funding, the second round ask. In total, right now, this is a changing budget figure, and we hope we'll be able to secure more. We have about $177 million provided we receive all the grant funds that we are requesting. So far, we've been pretty successful, so we are staying positive on that. Now to the existing I Street Bridge. So people have asked, what are we going to do with this? Myself and one of our staff members, Chris Doherty, actually conceptualized the deck conversion project back in 2015 when we started thinking about what we're going to do with the existing bridge once the other bridge has been built. So we drafted a grant application to Caltrans through their planning pot of money, and we received a little under $200,000, plus our local match about $225,000 in funding to prepare a feasibility study to identify the needs of the existing bridge and what could possibly happen to the bridge later on. At the same time, we had some outreach associated with that. Some of our goals that we had were to improve the multimodal connections between the cities, to create value on the riverfront, economic development potential, and to retain the use of this valued transportation resource. Per a 1908 agreement that was between the city of Sacramento and Yolo County, because West Sacramento was not a city yet, the top deck of the bridge is allowed to be used by both agencies, provided that highway use is not ceased. So what that means is if the city stopped using the top deck of the bridge, it reverts back to the railroad. The railroad owns the bridge. So in order to retain use of the bridge, we want to keep using it. So what we developed is a plan through the feasibility study to look at how we can keep the top deck for pedestrian use. And we double checked what highway use meant. Does it mean vehicles? Does it mean what it means today? And that's bicycles, pedestrians, anybody using a roadway. It is the opinion of all involved that as long as we keep this for bicycles and pedestrians, we can continue to use the top deck of the bridge. So that being said, we decided we were going to have an outreach meeting that was organized by the city of West Sacramento to see what it was like to use the bridge vehicle-free. And this was the Lantern Festival that was put on. Hopefully some of you were able to attend. A little over 3,000 people attended the event. It was pretty magical. We had not been on the bridge before when there haven't been any vehicles. And it was a lot of fun, and I think it actually produced a lot of support for the project. We even had food trucks out there and a band, so it was definitely a lot of fun. Hopefully some of you were able to attend. This is an example of one of the concepts. I believe that there were two put together for the feasibility study by WSP. This is just an example of how this could be converted to a bicycle and pedestrian use. However, we have the feasibility study done. Now we're going to move into the next phase, which is the PAD, Project Approval and Environmental Document phase. So it will require tearing off some of the environmental work that was done for the existing I Street Bridge replacement project. Thankfully, there was a lot of work done there. We also have mitigation for the replacement project that requires that the approach ramps stay up in the Sacramento side for a period of 2 years to allow for purple martin and bat habitats to move to areas that are developed specifically for them, including some bat boxes and purple martin habitat that was installed underneath the existing bridge approaches, and weep holes that are going to be created into the new bridge that are suitable for purple martin and bats. This is an example of how we could use the existing infrastructure to create a plaza on the Sacramento side. This was part of some of the concepts and renderings that were developed for the project. As I said, though, there will be a vast number of designs that are going to be moving forward for review on both sides of the river, and eventually the design that moves forward and is environmentally cleared hopefully will be constructed. A lot of people ask, well, if you're building a new bridge, why do you need this other one? And one, it's a historic resource, and it's an asset to the city, and a lot of people identify these historic bridges that we have, the Tower Bridge and the I Street Bridge, as elements of the city and that reflect our culture. So what we'd like to do is maintain that. It also provides a unique connection between Old Town, the oldest neighborhood in Sacramento, and the oldest neighborhood in West Sacramento. So it keeps that connection going, and hopefully will continue to spur economic development, interest, and use. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
That was an excellent presentation, Jason, and very, very comprehensive. Is there any questions from the commissioners at this point? Diana.
There we go. Thank you so much for the presentation. We appreciate it very much. And I think I remember the first one. So a couple of questions. My first question is, what types of comments were received on the EIR? Were they abundant? Were there any hostile? Are you expecting any challenges? That's my first set of questions.
So I believe that we had about 38 written comments.
Very much.
Not very many.
No.
We're either doing something amazing or people are reserving comment for later on. I believe that we're answering people's comments in earnest and thoroughly. A lot of the comments had to do with the bad habitats in purple martin, sure. Primarily because there aren't that many purple martin habitats. They aren't an endangered or listed species, but they are one of concern for the neighborhood, and so we tried to be respectful and respond to that appropriately. A lot of the comments had to do with, well, what are you going to do with the existing bridge, and we're addressing that. Mm-hmm. There are ongoing comments I think we've had with regard to right-of-way acquisitions, which now that we're moving into the next phase in the federal process, once the environmental document has been certified, then we can move forward with the right-of-way agent and start making discussions with regard to that. Those are pretty standard comments. Really not a whole lot overall, and as I said, we had nobody speaking at the city of Sacramento on the topic of this environmental document, and we've had a lot of outreach. So.
Good job. Good. Congratulations on that. Sounds successful. Great job. And then, thank you. My other question is, what regulatory permits you do need now with regard to environmental issues?
Well, we have to work with, we have been working with the Central Valley Flood Board, the Army Corps of Engineers for geotechnical drilling, which is going to be required in order to do our final design.
What about
we have to work with Fish and Game, State Lands Commission. It's all the same agencies that we have to work with, Safeco, West Safeco on the West Sacramento side, all relating to levee improvements, levee certification, in-water work, respecting our in-water window that we have up to, I believe it's October, for any in-water work. It's a lot of agencies.
And do you have any of those permits yet? Because I was looking at the timeline, and I know trying to get some of those permits can take quite some time.
We have all our permits in place, all of them for 404, 408. Sorry for using acronyms, people at home. There's a lot of different ways that these are labeled and addressed. But basically everything for our geotechnical permits are in place.
Great.
And we've received those. Now we get to start over again so that we can work on the rest of the bridge project, and that relates mostly to the levee work that's going to have to be done with the bridges.
All right, wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you for your answers. Appreciate it, and for the presentation.
Mark, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. On one of your slides, it shows a cross-section of the existing bridge with two rail trains underneath.
Yes, that's the one that's on the screen there.
Is the new bridge expandable to 2 levels also?
So the answer is no. This is going to be just 1-level bridge. However, we are designing the bridge to accommodate light rail vehicles, whether that be LRT light rail trains or streetcar. One thing to note on the existing tower bridge is that it is rail ready. It used to have streetcar on it back in before, I think, the 1940s. Those rails have been removed. But it can only have rail in the center because it was designed so that balance had to be maintained. You put the rails in there and it's very sensitive. You can't put them on one side or the other. It throws the balance off and the counterweights won't operate the way that they should. The way that we've designed this bridge and the way that we're designing Broadway Bridge, the rails can be put anywhere in any lane on the bridge itself. So we will be transit ready. Will also be rail ready. Both the plans over in the rail yards and the plans in Washington anticipate that there will be light rail or streetcar in the future. You may have heard about the streetcar project. It did come in significantly over budget, so they're currently looking at rescoping that a little bit and making some changes to that project. So I don't know what the timeline is going to be for rail project moving forward across these bridges.
I was just wondering for 75 years in the future. You proposed showed us 9 different alternatives for the new bridge. The appearance of the bridge, are they all environmentally similar? The impact of them environmentally similar?
Yes, so all of them follow in the area of influence that was identified for the environmental document. All of them follow roughly the same width. All of them follow the same span because they're hitting equal approaches. So they're all within the AP that was identified. So they all are covered in the environmental document.
So the superstructure really has little to do with the environmental document. I mean, in the sense that it's not a direct environmental impact, except visually maybe? Likewise.
And visually it was handled using massing in the environmental document. The EAEIR had identified general massing for the bridge that was roughly equal to the existing towers for Tower Bridge. Some of these towers that are represented in the images that I showed you are a little bit higher. Some of them are lower, so it just kind of depends on what moves forward, but all of them are going to fall within the basic description of that was identified in the environmental document of towers and a movable span.
In your solar concept, do you include solar in the other 3 concepts also?
No, we don't, not currently. It was identified more as a lofty idea. That could be carried over into other design elements. It has since caught on, and the architect and the engineers have worked to reduce the cost by $100 million from the initial concept. So it's turning into more of a possibility, at least as far as financially. And so we're hoping that those elements continue to move forward. Sustainability was identified as one of the top values of folks who participated in the first 2 workshops and the online virtual workshop. So things like structural elements of the bridge, whether it be the concrete or the steel, if it has recycled content, if it contains elements like the solar, or if it's going to incorporate vegetation and plant life. All of those things are values that folks want to see carry forward the bridge.
Yes, wonderful. For also the solar concept, the solar arch bridge, was there any discussion of the impact on the local economy that the solar bridge in Reading has had? That's not its right name. The one you're referring to, yes, in Reading. Actually, I can't even think of the name of it right now. But we did not look specifically. The Sundial Bridge.
Sundial Bridge. Thank you. We did not look specifically at the Sundial Bridge. It was considered by a lot of folks who attended and commented on the modern nature of the solar arch in reference to that. As far as the economic value of a more aspirational bridge, we didn't really identify, but it's definitely there as a potential for a tourist attraction.
Would be interesting. Last question. When you were talking about the deck conversion on the existing I Street Bridge, you mentioned that there was a 1903 or something contract with the railroad. And then you mentioned that everybody agreed that the concept you had put forward reflected the use for travel or for highway kinds of uses for that top deck.
Did the railroads agree with that also?
We did have Union Pacific involved in our discussions, and mostly it was a lot of attorney review of the contracts from 1908 between the two cities. We do have buy-in from Union Pacific, who attended, and they are aware of the plans for this. They are aware of our desire to continue moving forward, and I think that they're also aware that we will be contributing as two cities to the maintenance of the deck, upper deck, and the bridge itself, which requires about $4 million worth of maintenance on it. If you have been out there, there are some railings that need to be replaced. There is some spalling of concrete. There is some reinforcements that need to happen. This is a mechanism for the two cities to help move that forward.
You know, from my own perspective, which I realize to my kids is worthless, but anyway, the cooperation these two cities have shown in doing this innovative and interesting and expansive project ought to be studied maybe at Sac State or UCD as an example of a good environmental process. You guys have done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions, Mark? Go ahead.
So Mark took my question on UP, but did have a question on the existing bridge are all the viaducts going to be removed, or just portions of them?
That's a really good question. So I did note that on the Sacramento side, viaducts aren't going to be removed for 2 years. It does not prohibit West Sacramento from removing our viaducts, just the one earlier. There needs to be some ongoing discussion about how much of the existing viaducts will be retained as part of the deck conversion project. So we have a period of time in that construction window for us to complete the PAD phase of the deck conversion project and to develop the concepts that we need to move forward, whether those are spiral ramps going up or switchback ramps, or potentially leaving some of the ramps in place, just continuing to do maintenance on the upper deck of the bridge to the tune of the roughly $4 million that need to be done, and then coming back at a later date to put up the approach ramps. So more needs to be studied with this. We have a feasibility study. We know how much roughly this is going to cost. I believe for the concept that I showed you, which actually I'll go back here, this concept that is shown here, I believe it's roughly $13 million for the whole project. But this could be done in phases. As I said, the first $4 million, and then go back a little bit later. It's going to depend on how much funding that the cities are able to obtain for this project, and how quickly we can move forward to make sure that we're not vacating our right to use the upper deck of the bridge.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had one question, Jason. On the C Street, on the West Sacramento side, does the project area extend down C Street, including any infrastructure requirements to improve C Street?
It does. So bear with me, and I'll go back just a little bit to our original plan here. Here we go. Let me go back one more. You can see just beyond on the West Sacramento side, the red approach ramps are identified to be removed. That is C Street. We do show improvements going all the way down C Street. However, working with Federal Highway Administration right now to identify which elements of this project are funded and which ones are not. They have not identified C Street improvements as participating costs, meaning the city of West Sacramento will be on the hook to provide all of those with our own local funds. We are not necessarily in agreement with that and are continuing to discuss that a little bit, because there are significant impacts that go down C Street, and there's significant improvements that have to be done, including right-of-way acquisition. So we continue to work with our federal partners to solve those issues.
So I assume the environmental document did address the growth-inducing aspects of the bridge on C Street and the other requirements for infrastructure improvements.
Everything was identified in the document.
How come the project area didn't extend on the Sacramento side, eastward?
So Rail Yards Boulevard was already constructed. There have been two alternatives that move forward in the connection, and that's on the exhibit shown there. There's a roundabout alternative, which actually reduces the traffic impacts to LOSC in the future condition versus, I believe it's LOSD with the condition that's out there now. However, it still falls within the general plan requirements for their traffic conditions. Okay. It also, as designed, meets the needs for West Sacramento as well, provided that we're able to put in the improvements that need to be done for the project.
Okay. Very good. Eric?
I have one question for me. On a regional scale, does this project reduce vehicle miles traveled or about the same, or is there a significant change to the overall?
So the way that we had designed this, we looked at different bridge widths, 6-lane bridge configuration early on. I think some of this we presented at our first meeting with the Environmental Commission, where we looked at everything from 2-lane to 6-lane. Once you start getting into 6-lane bridge, it starts becoming a growth-inducing project. You start getting people using that instead of I-80 to cut through to I-5, and our traffic analysis actually reduced the level of service to F+20. It was significant. So what we tried to do was design this so it did not produce any growth-inducing impacts, and that regionally we're still keeping within our original policy of making this a neighborhood-friendly bridge, where it is primarily neighborhood connectivity, not regional connectivity, and therefore we're not hitting those growth numbers. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's kind of, it sounds like they'll stay relatively stable or in line with the existing data. You're not, I guess my question was, I was trying to wonder if there's going to be any significant reductions in emissions, really, and this is kind of where I was headed with it.
You know, I'd have to go back and look at the environmental document to answer that better for you. I recommend probably pulling that section up. I don't want to stumble on my words here and say something that is not correct.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Tom, do you have a question?
Actually, I don't have a question. I have just a quick comment. I didn't look at the entire document, but I looked at where it was on the web. And it's 2 volumes. Volume 1's 567 pages. So somewhere in there you'll find transportation, I'm sure. And the other one is 869 pages. There were 38 comments, 4 agencies, 29 individuals, and 5 organizations, like Sierra Club or whatever. The answers to those took up 152 pages. So, and I do have a question though. The final review period is way past.
Correct.
But they're having the last public hearing or approval coming up in August, correct?
That's correct.
They'll still be allowed to have public comments on the document at that time, or the project.
So CEQA says that at any time in the process, you can take public comment.
Correct.
However, if it's past the final EIR, there's no opportunity for us to respond,
Yes.
incorporated into the document.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I have subsequently received some comments. I did receive a letter in the office. Caltrans received a letter with regard to LED lighting on the bridge for energy efficiency and to reduce impact on fish habitats and fish migrating on the river. We had already responded to that in the EIR, so it is not a new comment, but I did phone the commenter, invited her to come to the latest public meeting and identify the pages in which we addressed those exact issues. So.
Okay, so the opportunity is still out there, so to speak.
We have not fully designed this project.
Yeah.
So the opportunities are still there during the public outreach for folks to give us some comments, tell us what your feedback is on it. If there's something that you feel like you really want to say to us and have addressed, we'll do our best.
Okay. Thank you. Good presentation. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much, Jason. This was an excellent presentation. We appreciate your time.
Great.
Our next agenda item is collaboratively improving salmonid spawning and rearing habitat on the American River. And tonight is John Hannon, who's with the Bureau of Reclamation.
Oh, cool.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
look forward to your presentation.
Thanks a lot for having me. I always love to talk about fish on the American River. So this is a project we've been working on in collaboration with the City of Sacramento and a lot of other folks since back in the around 2006 we started on it. We've been doing a project every year. The cover slide here shows one of the projects we did, kind of a scenic one, up at Nimbus Dam, where we created a side channel and some spawning habitat in the river. We have City of Sacramento utilities folks who do the construction work for us. So that's been a fun project for them and for all of us to do every year. So I'm going to separate this talk into kind of two parts. The first part is kind of some studies going on the American River, fishery studies, and then the second part will be more focused on the habitat work. So some biology about salmon in the American River. The upper left-hand slide there, that's Chinook salmon and steelhead spawning timing. Those are the two salmonid species we've got in the American River. And then on the lower right is Sacramento River, just Chinook salmon. So Sacramento River has 4 runs of Chinook salmon. They're basically adults in the Sacramento River year-round because of the cold water source up at Shasta Dam. So on the American River, we have 1 run of Chinook salmon, fall run Chinook. They spawn October, November, December. If you want to go see them spawn, about Thanksgiving Day is a perfect time to do it. And then after the Chinook spawn, the steelhead come in about the first of the year, January, February is kind of their peak. These are Chinook salmon numbers through the years since about 1950 up to the present time. Averages are about 40,000 fish per year, and it varies based on a lot of different factors. The different colors there are red is fish counted in the river, then the green on the top is fish that go into Nimbus Hatchery. So one of our mandates is try to increase the natural production of fish in the river. So that's the fish that spawn in the river, not the ones that get produced in the hatchery. So in 2008, we started a project marking all the fish from the hatchery, or actually 25% of the Chinook salmon from the hatchery. Prior to that, we thought that maybe 40% of the fish in the river were from the hatchery. So what we've learned from that is the tagged fish come back. We read the tags. I'm going to go through 4 slides here. Kind of the lower left-hand panel is the main one I'm going to focus on. There's a lot of information here. But these are fish returning to the American River. 2014, can't quite see that number, but it's about 2/3 of the fish are hatchery produced in 2014, and 1/3 came from fish that spawned in the river. So our goal is to increase that proportion of fish spawning in the river. 2013, similar kind of thing, still around 2/3 hatchery produced fish. 2012, similar. 2011, similar kind of deal. The different colors on the larger circles there are different sources of fish. The blue, different colors of blue are all fish from the American River. The other colors are fish that came from other rivers into the American River. As far as fish harvest in the American River, this is Chinook salmon in 2016 from Rob Titus at California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The American River has really large harvest of salmon. When you look at all the rivers in the Central Valley, in 2016, the American River was about half the fish harvested in the Central Valley were harvested in the American River, or over half actually. And that exploitation rate over on the right-hand side, about 42% that year of the salmon returning to the river were harvested, and a large proportion of those were up at that, right below the dam, right below Nimbus Dam, where fishing is open, or was open in November and December. It's not open anymore up in there. So one of our issues in the American River is we do the surveys for the fish, the Carcass Surveys we call them, where we go out and count fish and figure out which ones spawned and which ones didn't. So this is egg retention. which is salmon that come in and spawn. You look at the females and determine what proportion of the eggs they released. This is a really high proportion compared to other rivers of fish that die before they release their eggs, before they spawn. So the issue in the American River is we have not a lot of cold water in Folsom Reservoir. So we try to balance the water releases into the river between steelhead. We have to keep the water cool in the summer for steelhead, and then save some cold water in the fall for Chinook salmon. But the limited cold water resource results in a pretty high pre-spawning mortality for Chinook, which we'd like to find a solution for that. Another study going on right now by Anna Sturrock at UC Davis and Kramer Fish Sciences is working on this. They look at the otoliths of the Chinook, which is the ear bone, can look at the strontium isotopes and figure out where the fish originated. So go and get the otoliths from the adult fish. So this was 2015, I believe. This was similar to the tagging studies, but about half the fish came from Nimbus Hatchery. About a third were naturally produced in the American River, and 20% came from other rivers. And this is a really interesting part of the study. They can use the otoliths, the strontium in the otoliths, to figure out when fish left the river. That helps us determine what types of habitats are most limiting, what kind of restoration type projects to do that could be most successful. So originally we thought the bigger fish, the ones that stayed in the river longer, were the ones that would survive to adults and come back and contribute to escapement. But we learned through this that only about 5% of those really large fish. So this is along the bottom axis, that's the length of the fish in millimeters. So like 0 to 4 inches is basically that scale right there. We used to think that over like 3/4 of the fish coming back as adults were probably smolts when they went out as juveniles. We've learned that through this study that a lot of the fry, they're the really small fish. We used to think that they didn't contribute at all. And we learned that 35% this year of the fry that went out, or of the adults that came back, went out as juveniles as fry. And then the medium-sized fish, the par, about 60% went out at that size. So that helps us determine what types of habitats to focus on in the river if we want to increase natural production. So this is my pet project that I came to the American River in 2001. Steelhead are a species that they don't die after they spawn, so figuring out how to estimate the populations is kind of a difficult question. So we've been doing surveys in the river since 2002, and these are the in-river spawning populations in the river. Ranges from about 100 to 400 fish spawn in the river. The last 5 years or so have been down in the 100 range. So the next slide, this same data will be on the next slide. The red at the bottom, those are the in-river spawners, and then the blue is the fish that enter Nimbus Hatchery. So our goal is to have fish spawning in the river and only have enough fish going in the hatchery. We need about, say, 300 fish in the hatchery to meet the goals for juvenile production. So you can see the fish like to go back to the hatchery more than they like to spawn in the river, basically, is the point of that one. And we clip all the steelhead that are released from the hatchery, clip a fin, so we can, when they come back, we can tell which ones came from the hatchery and which ones came from the river. On the right-hand column there is the proportion that were spawned in the river, which is pretty low, like 1 to 6%. Over about the last 20 years, and our goal is to have that, try to increase that number. Water temperatures are kind of an issue in steelhead survival. So One issue with steelhead is back when Folsom Dam and Nimbus Hatchery were built, there weren't enough fish coming back to the river for the hatchery to get enough fish to produce fish. Basically, very few came back. So they brought fish over from the Eel River. I didn't know, as much about genetics back in those days, and basically replaced the steelhead stock in the American River with fish from the Eel River. So those fish right now, steelhead are a threatened population in the American River under the Endangered Species Act. So the hatchery population doesn't actually contribute to like recovery of the native stock. So we're working on a alternative, a different brood stock or a different source of fish to use to raise in the hatchery to try to replace that Eel River stock with a stock that's more compatible with Endangered Species Act and would count towards recovery. So this is the Upper American River watershed, I-80 at the top and Highway 50 at the bottom, the three forks of the American River. We went out, Kramer Fish Sciences did this study, collected about 500 rainbow trout upstream of Folsom Reservoir in these tributaries, did genetics on those fish. So it's, a pretty rough country up in there, beautiful country. Middle Fork there, and I think that other slide is up near French Meadows Reservoir. But collected 500 genetic samples from rainbow trout, basically to see if fish upstream of Folsom still have some native genetics that could be used as steelhead, because rainbow trout they can go to the ocean or not go to the ocean, and that determines whether they go to the ocean or not is whether they're steelhead or not, but they're the same species. So Devin Pierce at National Marine Fisheries Service is a geneticist. He ran genetics on all those fish from the upper tributaries. That diagram with all the different lines on it, that's all the Central Valley stocks of steelhead. Kind of a genetic tree showing relatedness of different stocks. Basically the coastal Lower American River section in the upper right there shows that the American River steelhead, the ones below Nimbus Dam right now, they're basically the same as the Eel River stock. And then above Folsom, they got two different groups, a Group A and a Group B. Originally, we thought that there's been a ton of hatchery stocking, and it would be mostly hatchery stocks up there. But learned that they're actually largely the native stocks are still up there. The Groups A and Group B has alleles associated with anadromy, so they could, if given the chance, potentially go to the ocean and become steelhead. So we're still working through this study. Another part of it, we brought steelhead down from Coleman Hatchery up Battle Creek off Sacramento River. Reared them along with Nimbus Hatchery fish in Nimbus Hatchery, and then compared the performance of those two groups of fish. They were almost identical as far as survival and growth rates. So we combined the two groups, did a acoustic tag tracking study, tracked the juveniles out to the Golden Gate Bridge, had really good survival. So that indicated that we could probably use Coleman hatchery fish as a stock to replace the Nimbus brood stock as well. But there's still some pathology issues to work through on this study before we finish it off. Kind of next steps with the fish from above the reservoir is to put some below the reservoir, see if they can become anadromous or go to the ocean. Do tests with salt water, see how they do in salt water. And then out-migration studies with the fish above Folsom, same as we did with the fish from Coleman Hatchery, to see if they'll become anadromous and return at a sufficient rate to replace the stock. Right now we've got some pathology concerns with moving fish around, so we're kind of on hold while we work through those pathology concerns. So that's basically the biology part. Now I'm going to go into the habitat restoration part of the talk, or kind of the physical habitat part. So these are flows in the American River. The green is before Folsom Dam, and each of these charts, red is after Folsom Dam, kind of the changes in different types of flows, and I'll go over how that's affected the habitat. So on the upper right, those are the one-day low flows, the minimum flows. So we've really increased the minimum flows. We don't get the low flows like we used to because we store water and kind of parse it out through the year. So more higher flows on average year-round. But on the right-hand side there, you can see we've probably can't really see the scale along the bottom, but it goes from October through September, so a water year, or that's how we classify a water year. The green is a pre-dam, so we've dropped off kind of the spring flows when we store water, and then now we release it more during the summer into the fall. And then on the bottom there, those are the high flows, the ones that really create the habitat and move things around. Folsom Reservoir isn't that large compared to a lot of other reservoirs for the size of the watershed above. So we still get a lot of the high flows like we did before the dam that they make it risky for Sacramento flood-wise, but they help to keep the habitat in halfway decent shape compared to a lot of other rivers. One thing that the dams have done, though, is block the sediment coming down. In a natural river, when we get big floods, we get a lot of rocks and trees and sediment, all kinds of things coming down, fills in kind of the lower channel, makes for diverse pools and riffle habitat. So this is a gravel budget that we did looking at changes in sediment storage in the river before and after the dams. Kind of the key part of this one, about river-wide, about 90,000 cubic meters of gravel loss per year on average. Most of that, the big changes happened during the really high flows like we had in 2017. But on that chart on the right-hand side, that's a longitudinal profile, which is a profile on the left-hand side is the mouth of the Sacramento River, or mouth of the American River where it flows into the Sacramento River, and then the elevation going upstream to Nimbus Dam. The dark line is the bottom of the river now, basically, and the dotted line was back 1906, I think it says there. So you can see how much the the river has downcut through the years with the blockage of the sediment by the dams. So our projects try to kind of mitigate for that loss of the material. Couple slides here, or pictures here. To illustrate that, down at the mouth of the American River where it flows into the Sac, on the upper left there is back in 1947. You can see there were pools and riffles and gravel bars, and folks have probably been out there now know it's mostly deep water. And on the bottom chart is the same one I had on the last slide. You can see it's downcut 10, 15, 20 meters, something like that in the lower river there, where it's below sea level now. I think some of that may have been dredging, but you can see it goes kind of all the way up to Nimbus Dam where the channel is downcut. And what's happened is it kind of downcuts and the river gets separated from the floodplain, side channels get cut off and dried out, and kind of simplifies the habitat, so the salmon don't do as well. So our projects focus on mainly moving gravel around, putting gravel in the river. So the gravel provides spawning habitat. Fish, of course, lay their eggs in the gravel. Provides rearing habitat by creating pools and riffles, kind of diverse flows. And aquatic insects reproduce on the gravel, which provide food for salmonids and other species. So our planned projects right now, this is on the upper right there is Nimbus Dam. Down on the left is Riverbend Park. So our projects are focused basically upstream of the leveed reach, where there aren't as many flood concerns. Upper 10 miles of the river. The black outlined areas are potential future future habitat project sites. We've worked at a lot of these spots before and plan to go back to some in the future. So this summer, we're trying to work at upper Sailor Bar, which would be, you look on the right-hand side, be the second from the right, the second polygon from the right, so just a little bit downstream from Nimbus Hatchery. And, I think I skipped one, no? Okay, so one of our challenges has been addressing flood concerns with the Army Corps, the Section 408 process, which deals with modification of a flood system. So the entire American River has been classified by the Army Corps as subject to Section 408. So we've been working through that. We haven't had a project for the last 2 years as we work through this process, but looking at changes in water surface elevations, the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency has really helped us out with this. So this is water surface elevations at 160,000 CFS. So we're trying to keep everything, no change basically is what we're shooting for, but at least less than 1/10 of a foot change in water surface from any of our projects at the really high flows. So the kind of the warmer colors on here are increases in water surface elevation. So the top panel there is kind of the upper half of our project reach, and the bottom panel is the lower half. You can see we have a little bit of an increase on the upstream side. This is going through the Army Corps and the Central Valley Flood Protection Board right now to see if they'll approve our project. So we've been working through this for a long time. This is the lower part of the river, the levied reach, which is kind of the more higher concern area as far as flooding. In the levees, not much change down in that area. We've kept our projects upstream of here. So a 2019 project, which I showed, was that one right below Nimbus Hatchery at Upper Sailor Bar. So this, kind of the two big polygons in the lower left there, that's the main channel of the river that's wetted all the time, basically. And then the line across the top side of the picture there is a side channel that we plan to excavate across the north side of that gravel bar. So what we do is go in, excavate the gravel. It's mostly gravel, river rock that we would dig out, make a side channel so water would flow through there all the time, run that gravel through a gravel sorter, and then put spawning-sized gravel back in the river at those two polygons in the main channel there at the bottom for spawning habitat, and then put the larger rock in various places where we're trying to keep things stable. So we're hoping to start on this if we get all our permits in line from the flooding issue, get that addressed hopefully by mid-August, and we can do work this August and September at this site. When we go through a design process to come up with that last figure I showed, the design. So we use habitat suitability indices. These are for spawning. Steelhead on the left-hand side, Chinook on the right-hand side. For spawning, basically like 1 to 3 feet deep water velocity 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 feet per second. That'll cover both of those species. So we do a two-dimensional hydrodynamic model our design and try to maximize the amount of the habitat that meets these criteria. We have the same kind of deal with rearing habitat, juvenile rearing habitat for the baby fish. They need kind of slower water near the bank, so we try to maximize that, especially in the side channel that I showed. So that's the project we hope to do this year. I'm going to go through a few that we've done in the past few years. This was our last one we worked on, which was back in 2016. This is at Sacramento Bar, which is about a mile, maybe 2 miles below the Sunrise Boulevard Bridge. On the upper left-hand side, that's a pre-project shot of see it's a big, wide open gravel bar and kind of a narrow stream channel. We put in a side channel On the bottom left there is after the project. We constructed that side channel. We widened the main channel quite a bit. And the area between the side channel and the main channel we lowered all that. So that's floodplain type habitat, which should inundate at about 5,000 CFS at a little bit higher flows for juvenile fish rearing. And over on the right-hand side is our construction, kind of our construction process. See our gravel sorters up on the upper right there, where we're sorting out 3 different sizes of gravel, basically the fine stuff, which is good for growing plants, the medium-sized material, good for the spawning habitats, and then the larger material to put in areas that we want to hold in place. And we put wood in the channel along the side channel there on the bottom right. Brought in a bunch of logs, buried them along the banks to provide kind of refuge areas for juvenile fish to rear. So another one up in Nimbus Basin. This is the same spot I showed in the opening slide. On the bottom right is a completed project we did in 2014 where we built a spawning riffle in the main channel and then the side channel for juvenile rearing. On the left-hand side, you can see all the lighter colored spots. Those are all spots where salmon, we call them salmon reds. That's where they dug out a nest and laid their eggs. This is kind of early in the spawning. Further along in the spawning period, it was pretty much solid reds or salmon nests out through there. Over 1,000 salmon spawned in that area. And this was the first year. This year it was probably like 3,000 spawned up in there. They really used it. The hatchery Weir, Nimbus Hatchery. This is we're trying to replace this Weir. It's kind of a safety hazard. People have to go out and install the pickets every year, and fish get stuck upstream of it. It leaks fish. Fish get through the pickets, and then they get stranded up in there. In that, luckily we built that habitat. So the Weir is basically just downstream of this habitat spot. But fish get through here and they get stuck up in that area, and actually more fish get stuck up in there than there is room for them to spawn. So a lot of them die without spawning. So we have plans to replace this with a fish ladder that would run from just below the dam into Nimbus Hatchery and fix that issue. This is a project we did back in 2010 upstream of Sunrise Boulevard. A side channel on the upper left there. This was a side channel that, it had water prior to 2006. This photo I think is in about 2007 or so. There you can see that's a photo of it on the ground, but it was our biggest spawning area for steelhead in the river, and a lot of Chinook spawn there, a lot of juvenile fish rear in there. And the river, through the years has been down cutting and cutting off these side channels without the source of gravel. So we came in and put large material in the main channel here to divert water back into the side channel. So this is a construction at that site. This is from the north, looking across the river, putting our larger material that we sorted from dredger tailings at this spot. To fill the main channel, divert water through that side channel, and rewater that habitat. This was after it's completed, looking across the river, side channels over there, main channels here, and then the side channel here back has got water in it again. Steelhead are using it to spawn. Chinook are using it to spawn. A lot of juvenile fish are using it. Another spot, another before and after. See, dried here, and then here it is rewatered from the air. And at the same time, we also put in a spawning riffle and a little bit of a side channel just upstream of that site. Back in 2010, that was. Same thing again, except this is before and after the high flows we had in 2017, when we had 80,000 CFS. 2016, just before that, and then 2017, it moved things around a bit. This is at the lowest flow we had in 2017, but the side channel is still flowing. It may need some maintenance in the future, but it's still functioning the way we hoped it would. We've of course with the American River, a lot of recreation use, public use. So we try to design all the projects, keep them safe for the public. We've done a lot of work with county parks and how we design projects. The wood we put in, can be an issue for folks recreating out in the river. When we put large pieces of wood in there, people can get it can be a safety hazard. And we have to leave deep water spots for boats to get through, kind of thing. So we've worked with county parks, identified the yellow circles or higher boater hazard areas. We've kept our projects away from those, except the one at Sunrise. This is the one I showed, the side channel at Sunrise. We designed that with a boater chute to make it safe, but we worked with county parks to have a kind of agreement that if any of our wood that we put in washes out and goes to a place where it's a hazard, we'll take it out of the river and make it safe. This is 2017, some of the floods, 80,000 CFS coming out of Nimbus Dam, and then the right-hand side there, that's Sacramento Bar, that first project I showed. I guess some of the lessons we've learned as we've gone through the projects, through the years we've been able to use larger wood. We used full log truck sized wood in 2016 with root wads, like 40-foot logs from the forest, and we're able to position it in the river so it's not a hazard to people. Gravel bars have good percolation when we sort the material. We're able to wash it, and the wash water sinks right in and doesn't cause a water quality issue. And air quality, we've dealt with, or learned to deal with air quality. We kick up some dust when we're doing the project, so we've learned to water everything down really well. The 408 process with the Army Corps of Engineers has been one of our biggest challenges in meeting that in the last couple of years. And then this is that Sacramento Bar project before and after the high flows in 2016. This is before the side channel that we constructed, and then after the high flows, basically covered our side channel up. Main channel spawning habitat remained. We had good spawning of Chinook salmon still out there last year, but the side channel and all our wood basically got buried with gravel under the high flows in 2017. So we haven't decided whether to go back and try to maintain that yet or not, but we are getting it permitted to be able to. This is Lower Sailor Bar, 2012 project. Same kind of deal. We put gravel in the river here and constructed a side channel kind of through the trees over here. This is before and after the high flows in 2017. That project did really well through the high flows. The only issue was some of the trees on this bar here disappeared, or they're horizontal now instead of vertical. So this is the side channel. This has been actually, as far as fish use, fish density, been the highest use of any of our sites. It's only about a 400-foot long side channel, but you can go out there and count about 10,000 juvenile Chinook out there in the springtime. The beavers came in, right away after we built the thing, and we were worried they built dams, so it wasn't any good for spawning once they built the dams, but for juvenile rearing, it's been great, and so the beavers have been a positive. They're probably out there right now swimming around. And one more site. This is Lower Sunrise. The Water Forum led this project. This was an early one back in 2007 or 2008. This was another side channel that went dry. Excavated this channel through here. Used to be it would go dry, but when we rose the flows a little bit in the springtime to meet some Delta standards, water would flow over there, steelhead would come in for like a week, and then the standards met the standards, and we'd lower the water flows, and we had a large number of steelhead reds that would get dewatered in here. So this fixed that problem. And then in 2017, had a little bit of filling in at the upper end of that channel. So we may go in, and I think it's still not enough that we'll get red dewatering in there, but we may go back in and do some more work in the future there. And then this is the last one I'm going to show. This is Riverbend, the bike bridge down at Riverbend Park. This is a 2015 project where we put gravel in the main channel here, excavated a side channel, and then this is before the 2017 high flows, and then after over here you can see it changed a bit, but the side channel's still flowing. A lot of our spawning gravel moved, but it's a lot of it's still intact, and we were surprised on that one because it's a pretty high energy area. And then that's all I have. These are all the folks that work on these projects. It's been a big group effort through the years, and we're hoping to keep going into the future. I forgot to put the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency up here. They've been, the last 2 years, a huge help, and they've done a lot of the modeling of our projects to deal with the flood issues and trying to get it permitted. So that's all. If you have any questions, glad to answer them.
Thanks, John. That was a good presentation, very in-depth and very comprehensive of the whole issue. You mentioned that there was like a 90,000 ton a year gravel deficit in the system. How much does these projects contribute to offsetting that deficit?
So our average project is probably 15,000 tons, so 15,000 versus 90.
And then and these projects last a decade, or do they eventually just get washed out?
Yeah, it depends. It's really site specific and dependent on the flow regime. So 2017, probably 3 of our sites need to be redone after the 2017 flows, but they were ones that were constructed back in 2008. So we got 10 years out of those. The other 5 sites are still pretty good. Made it through 80,000 CFS, which we were surprised they did a lot better than we thought they would.
Right. Are you seeing numbers in population of fish coming out of the system now?
So we're working hard on trying to figure that out. There's so many factors. Well, escapement, you saw the escapement numbers. They're not on a positive trend. So there's the big issue is well, there's a lot of big issues, but a lot of fish are produced in the hatchery, and they don't even see the river. They get released down in the delta. So for those fish, it's basically ocean conditions is what they experience until they come back to the river. And the large majority of our fish coming back are those fish from the hatchery, about 2/3 of them. So that's largely ocean conditions that affects those fish. Our naturally produced fish, we've actually got a genetic study going on right now where we have a sampling site in the lower river. We take genetics from fish that spawned in our projects, sample those fish, and then sample juvenile fish going out of the river, and we can actually figure out where those fish were, what adults they came from, and whether they were produced in our project sites or not. And I'm not sure, it's like 50% or so, something like that. Somewhere in that range come from our project sites, which is promising. Our project sites don't comprise half the river, so.
Yeah. I understand that they just adopted new operating rules for Folsom and flood control operations.
Oh, right.
And I was wondering, do you expect to see changes in the hydrology enough to alter future conclusions of how these projects will operate with new operating rules?
I think the changes, they model a little bit in the changes I think the medium-sized floods will be reduced in frequency a little bit, which means probably not as much gravel moving around. The large floods, basically, I don't think there's going to be a big, a big change.
Okay.
Bottom line.
All right, good. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Mark, go ahead.
So what caught my eye was that American River, the Chinook egg retention. There was a huge jump in 2001. What kind of makes up some of these fluctuations?
So those early ones that were really high, 2001 through 2006 or 5, right in there when it was really high, a lot of fish died before they spawned. Those were like 200, close to 200,000 fish were in the river in the biggest year there, which there basically was not room for that many fish in the river. So that was part of it. Okay. And then the water temperatures is a big deal. I think it's kind of a combination of water temperatures and the number of fish in the river. So like during the drought years, there weren't that many fish coming back. The water temperatures were really bad. So it kind of evened out, I think, in those years. But it's kind of a combination of fish density and water temperature, I think, that influences it.
Yeah, I just thought it was a huge jump in that year. So.
Yep. That was a lot of fish in the river, and the water temperatures weren't that great. So.
Okay. Any questions, Mark? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I honestly have to say I had a little trouble keeping up, so maybe you'll forgive a couple of my questions.
No worries.
I stuck my foot into Lake Natomas the other day when I got into my kayak, and it wasn't bad. I remember sticking my body into it when I was a teenager, and it wasn't good. It was like jumping into ice. Has something occurred at Folsom that changed the temperature of Natomas?
No, not really. So we try to, right now the temperature target is 65 degrees at Watt Avenue for juvenile steelhead rearing, which means about upper 50s coming out of Nimbus Dam. We've been trying to meet that since about 2001. That's been the target, or since like 99, I think. But not really. Back in, I guess before 1999, we didn't try to keep it cold in the summer like we do now. There's the steelhead or in the river in the summer, the juvenile steelhead, they need cooler water. Back then, I wasn't here then, but didn't do temperature management in the summer back then like we do now.
How do you manage the water in Folsom to keep it colder at Watt Avenue?
So we have temperature shutters on the dam. There's 3 sets of temperature shutters so we can control the elevation in the reservoir that the water is released from. So it's colder on the bottom, warmer on the top. So we have operators that manipulate those things all basically May through November to try to get the temperature right.
Pardon me while I look some more. So is the overall goal to get more fish hatched in the hatchery or more fish hatched in the river?
We're trying to there's legislation, the Central Valley Project Improvement Act, that told the Department of Interior to double the natural production of anadromous fish in the Central Valley. So natural production is fish that spawn in the river, not in the hatchery. So we're trying that's what our goal is with all this habitat restoration stuff, is to get more fish produced in the river and not as much reliance on the hatchery.
When you mentioned that in high water flows, the gravel's removed from the river, which is the habitat for the fish hatchery. Does that provide more volume then to reduce the potential for floods?
Yeah, I mean, it provides more. One of our issues with being able to do these projects is the baseline keeps dropping. As the bottom of the river erodes away, the water surface elevation drops, and we can't increase it by more than 1/10 of a foot. So it does make for more volume, I guess. Not as good as habitat, more of a straight shot, as opposed to floodplains and pools and riffles type of thing.
But it probably does little to reduce the significance of floods because floodwater is overwhelming.
Yeah.
You had one slide showing American River higher boating hazards, and one shown by Watt Avenue. What do you mean by that? And for example, what kinds of hazards?
The Watt Avenue one, that was, so bridge piers, and then, so all those are basically high velocity areas that kind of push against a bank or against a bridge pier in that case. But at Watt Avenue on the north side of the river, there's a kind of a chute there. You get trees that fall in, someone goes down through there in their inner tube and gets hung up on a tree, and so that's a hazard.
Thank you. I really appreciate your speech. Thanks.
Yeah.
John, I got one final question. Something when Mark was speaking, you stated earlier that the harvest levels on the American River are around 17,000 fish compared to the other river, Sacramento.
Yeah, that was in 2016.
Why is it so high?
Why is it so high? A large proportion of that harvest was up in that Nimbus Basin right below the dam there, which is open during Chinook spawning. And the Weir that I mentioned, fish get trapped up there. They're really vulnerable to fishing. So they were easy to catch, and fishing was open, and lots of people were fishing there. Is
it because the river is going through an urban area, basically, and people have good access there, and that's why they're...
That's part of it, for sure. I mean, probably anywhere in the Central Valley, if they had that concentration to fish, there would be a lot of people there fishing. That was closed, actually, 2 years ago. So the last 2 years, people haven't been able to fish there, and there's been so many fish, too many fish up in there for the habitat. And so it didn't really hurt taking those fish out of there, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay, well, interesting.
Yeah, in fact, where I used to work, there was some of the gals used to go over there and fish at lunchtime.
Oh, yeah.
I do have a question. Where's your project funding coming from? Is that primarily federal dollars or federal, state, or a mixture?
So Central Valley Project Improvement Act set up a restoration fund where the money from the water users, the irrigators, and the power users pay into a restoration fund, and then that money is used for habitat projects and various things to increase fish and wildlife populations in the Central Valley Project.
Well, thank you. Nice presentation.
Yep, thanks.
Yep, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next agenda item at this time is the approval of our May 2019 meeting minutes. However, we do not have a quorum here tonight to take a vote on these meeting minutes. So what I'm going to do is ask if there's any corrections or edits that the commissioners want to offer. And if there's none, then as the chair, I'll approve these meeting minutes as we've discussed to do in the past when we don't have a quorum.
Or you could just put them on a consent calendar for the next meeting.
Well, that's what we're doing, is I'm approving it that way. However, for our June 2019 meeting minutes, we do have a quorum. So if there's any corrections or edits or comments anybody would like to make on the June meeting minutes, Mark?
I don't quite know how to say this, but and I'm not suggesting for a second that the comments with regard to what Californians Against Waste said are in any way inaccurate, because I believe they are accurate according to my memory. It's just that they weren't necessarily, I think, accurate according to the general public record, and I don't know if we should even reflect that. It looks like Californians Against Waste are the only parties that have done anything environmental for the last 30 years, which is far from the truth. And I guess I don't know how we should reflect that in the minutes, because that wasn't said that night. I didn't say it. So I guess I'd rewind if I could.
Maybe see if I can see what you're trying to say. Is the meeting minutes that we have here did not reflect what was said?
Not at all. The meeting minutes that we have in front of us accurately reflect what was said.
Okay. So you don't have an objection to that?
Not at all.
Okay. But you object to the message of the Californians Against Waste in other forums?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we can't do anything about that.
Too bad, yeah.
So unless there's any further comments, is there a motion to adopt these meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve them.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, approved in a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
We have an abstention from Mark and Mark. Okay, with that, the motion is passed, and the meeting minutes are approved. Next agenda item is our Environmental Management Director's Report. Marie, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I'll make a brief report. On one of our more familiar programs, that's our food safety program, where our inspectors inspect restaurants, grocery stores, food trucks, temporary vendors for food safety practices to ensure that the food that we eat is safe. And what I'd like to report on is this year, during this time, we have a very familiar community event that is quite large. It's the California State Fair. And this year, if you notice, the State Fair added the words Food Festival, because we know that the State Fair, one of the strong draws is all the variety of foods, right? You go out there, if you've been to the fair, and you see all these tempting foods, whipped cream, desserts, etc. So the fair this year runs from July 12th to the 18th, and our inspectors were out there. There was 15 of them, and they conducted 170 inspections on the opening day of the fair. And out of all those inspections, only 2 needed to have a re-inspection, which is quite remarkable. And maybe part of that is before the fair opens, our staff provides a training for the food vendors out there. There was over 200 workers that came to the training on food safety handling practices. So that probably helps and ensures a good inspection. And they will be spot checking the vendors out there throughout the state fair. So I think that's a good highlight report. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Also, our staff was highlighted on ABC News and Univision, which is the Hispanic channel. So they were on there also talking about the importance of hand washing and their inspection process in order to keep the food safe for the community. So anyway, that's our report. Any questions? Okay.
Well, I do have a comment. I'm always a firm believer in getting the word out and having compliance rather than enforcement, okay, for obvious reasons. And I think that's the way this program was approached to begin with.
Mm-hmm. That's why we have that training.
That's why you have the training, exactly.
For education and outreach.
Yes.
Josh, you have a comment?
This is probably the most important comment of tonight's meeting. Does the State Fair still offer deep-fried Oreo cookies?
That I'm not sure. Probably. I mean, they have something unique every year.
We test for food safety, but not food health. Okay, thank you, Marie. That was a good comment, or good report. On to commissioner comments. I'm going to open up one with, if you maybe saw the Sacramento Bee on the 4th of July, I believe was the edition. There was a mention of the Environmental Commission in the paper regarding the presence of hazardous algal blooms, HABs, in the Central Valley. And we were referenced in the article for the report we wrote 2 years ago, depicting key waterways that were susceptible to algae blooms. And so I just wanted to point that out it was a document that's still on our website, and it was picked up by the Sacramento Bee and referenced as a background material for that article. So I thought that was kind of a nice plug for us. Mm-hmm. Any other comments from the commissioners on any matter? Okay.
One thought is perhaps there may be a topic coming up which we actually want to reach out and invite someone from the Sacramento Bee to a meeting.
Yep, that'd be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put that on our initiatives for things to do. Okay. With that in mind, we've come to the end of our agenda, so let's adjourn this meeting until August 19th, our next meeting at the MD offices in Mayfield Field.